Hey, Christopher here, update on wallet scrutiny. As we talked about a few times now, it is time to start wrapping up the design and moving it to implementation. I think pretty much everyone has mentioned that here and there. And so to that end, I took all the different design explorations that we've talked about, including the one yesterday about the homepage, and put it in a single page where they're all next to each other and they're all consistent. Hopefully from this set, we can now just quickly review it all, make some decisions, and just implement it and be done. And then still possible to make tweaks afterwards, but ideally this takes us from the current website to something that's better and everyone is more happy with. And then, things can always be iterated from there. So where do we start? Yesterday with the homepage, let's start actually with the top. New logo here with the dog, needs some final tweaks as we've talked about, but generally that seems to be accepted. We have our search again, still in the header, also on mobile, otherwise these options collapse. We have new copy, and a note on copy, I'm leaving this up to Ken pretty much, or Carp, to finalize this. I'm more focused on layout and the visual elements. Then we show users all this wallet grid, and this should not show all reviews, but the wallets that passed all tests, ideally across iPhone and Android, but there's a little bit of intricacy to that. And then users can pick different categories, or they can search if, let's say, they want to find information about the wallet that they personally use. There's also a list view, which I have not designed. That's just Ed came up with this list view in the dev side. If this is something you want to do, here's a toggle you can use. There's pagination. Currently, it doesn't exist on the site. It shows you can break the site because it shows you 1,000 reviews or so. So pagination should be introduced. For each wallet, we see the logo, we see name, where it's located. And then how many of those tests is passed, and any urgent information that the user really should know at this point. For everything else, they should click, see the overlay, or go to the wallet review page for the details. This is just to get a general impression. Then we had the headline that introduces people to what this whole site is about. Then we go a little bit more into the about and the mission, and with invites to contribute and donate. And then to kind of give people a scope of this project, we show them these statistics, reviewed X thousand wallets. Here's kind of how they break down in the different categories. And you can see there's only a handful of them that passed all tests. So that drives that point home pretty clearly. There was some question yesterday about these gray dots and using different designs with color coding. So color coding is something we early on in the project said doesn't work because this green-red is confusing, and there are different opinions about this. The gray dots here are there, every block consists of 100 dots. The gray dots are there to provide some visual structure, totally a common thing to do in the design of these types of graphs. I would also not put this into a whole graph as suggested, because then you can't clearly distinguish. And the way it's done here, it's very easy to read and get a sense of the scale in difference. Footer, just really straightforward, just slight restyling. Mobile, this is what that looks like. You end up with a handful of filtering options below each other, nothing hidden, everything exposed, and this is probably not something users heavily use. And then just the same information laid out. Now, wallet page, we discussed this very thoroughly, so I'm not going to go into any detail, and a lot of it is implemented. So that's that. Of course, a lot of copy probably has to be tweaked. And I guess one note is that when I see a test here, I click through it, I can press this little info button, I see the details, and if I see, this could either take me to view test results, or this could take me to the methodology page where this aspect is explained in more detail. Now, about page, we're really missing, this is I pretty much made this up. We really need copy here, copy review and content review. We need people's names, faces, if they want to be listed there. And we need to figure out which of the, I don't know, a dozen, 20 or so podcasts and shows are the ones to show here. Ideally, one of them introduces the project as a whole, the other one maybe on the methodology. The website currently lists like 20 different ones, not super helpful. If we can just highlight a couple. So we need these content decisions here made. Mobile, really straightforward. Then donation page, I really just took the same content, tweaked it a little bit just for layout basically. And some minor details, like on the live website it uses micro BTC and just milli BTC, and that's just super hard to decipher, so I changed it to sats, much easier to read. And then the methodology page, we talked about this one recently too. The biggest change here is that we split it up in 5 pages instead of one 4,000 word long page. That makes it a lot easier to navigate. So you have an introduction, tests we run, hardware wallets, bear token, FAQ. Introductions, of course, introduction. Tests we run, this is where all the wallet page tests link to. By default, all of these ones are collapsed, so you can very quickly scan top to bottom. You can expand everything to read more details, and then you get a bunch of text. All the text here is straight from the website. Should also probably be revised. Then hardware wallets and bearer tokens. It sounds like there are some more discussions to be had, but I feel like that's not a design task, so I'm going to ignore that. Because like I said, I want to get the design and layout done, and the content can just be iterated separately. So if we're happy with the page structure, general layout and whatnot, we can say the design's done, and then the content can be iterated over time as necessary. And then we have the FAQ here, question here, should this also be turned into these expandable elements, or should this always be exposed? Small question here. So that's pretty much it. There are a bunch of more variations here for the grid. I think one thing to decide is what this drop down looks like as someone uses this. For example, here when you press iPhone does not allow for testing of reproducibility, so we should show an indicator here. The same might be necessary for hardware wallets or bearer tokens, just to let people know that this is not just the same process for different platform, but it's actually a different process based on which all these products are reviewed. There's just some nuance there that might need to be communicated. And then the other question here is, do you list here, the current website lists each individual test. I put it by category, the same categories we have on the wallet page here in this breakdown, and in the methodology page. Makes sense. Yeah, there was a question or an idea yesterday or a proposal to hide basically the search option here and some of these filters. However, I would not do that. I think it's confusing if you say you have 4,000 wallet reviews and then you don't let people browse those freely. Of course, you can highlight the ones that you think are the best on an initial impression, but then give people good tools to find the things that they came to look for whatever reason it may be. Maybe someone wants to, maybe a hobbyist wants to look up and see a project that was stopped 3 years ago and that's valuable to them personally. You just never know. So give people good tools. So that's it. I do hope that we can, this is pretty much close to the final design. Then copy review can be done, maybe some final visual tweaks. Ideally, if you have feedback, it should be very, very specific things to change. I would prefer not to do any broad exploration here anymore. Because like I said, it's good to finalize this round, implement it, and then, it's not the end of days. You can still make changes, but in the meantime, you can already see how people react to this update. So that's it. Thanks for tuning in. I hope that helps us move forward a little bit. Thanks.